Rutgers. Tomorrow we'll have Kelvin Bell on at 11 a.m. On the Zoom call, and with that we'll get to Coach.
Excuse me. Thanks, Steve, and good afternoon, everybody. Just like always, talk a little bit about the past weekend, and then start looking forward here to what's in front of us. Needless to say, just a really tough loss. Certainly a hard-fought game by both teams involved, and certainly to be expected. And bottom line is we came up short. Didn't make the plays we needed to make, and it's disappointing. Certainly disappointing for everybody involved. I'm sure our fans feel the same way, and I'm sure our fans are a little bit frustrated as well. So. That's the nature of it. Losing's never any fun, and nobody's more disappointed than our players or our coaching staff. This is what we do, or at least spend a lot of time doing. So, as you might imagine, that's the sentiment there. And then, like every week, reviewed the tape on Sunday, and went with our team, discussed it as a staff, and basically, saw some improvement. I think saw some improvement in certain areas, and that's good. And we also played very well in certain areas. And the bottom line is, I think the effort's there. So, like most times, it gets down to details, execution, and a lot of times fundamental, just, being better fundamentally. So those things don't change. And that's a challenge in front of us as we go. So the bottom line right now, our focus really is about, staying together and moving forward. And, what we have to do is get better in each and every meeting, every practice, try to take those opportunities to improve, and that'll be our approach moving forward. Regarding Nevada, just shifting gears here. So our captains, same four guys, got Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Kayvon Merriweather, and Riley Moss will be the captains again, playing Nevada team. And it's a little bit interesting. Certainly a change up from the last 2 weeks. Start with the fact that it's a night game. That's a little bit different. But, full disclosure, it's not like we know a lot about Nevada. We don't have a lot in our memory bank. And it's a very different preparation in the fact that, the last two opponents we've played have programs where they've, had coaching staffs that have been in place, and pretty easy to figure out their identity. We didn't spend a lot of time in the out of season looking at film on Nevada just for that reason. It's a new staff. Coach Wilson's come in there, and they've got a new staff, a lot of new players on top of it. So, their programs had success historically. I'm old enough to remember Chris Alt coaching there and Kaepernick playing all that. And, last year, just go back to last year, they beat Cal in their opener and had two very close losses to two good programs, Air Force and San Diego State. So that part just, kind of puts that in perspective. You tie in the fact that, what happened in college football last week's a good illustration that no matter who you are, you got to get ready to play, no matter who you play. And so shifting back to Nevada, we're just trying to figure out who they are, what they are right now. Offensively, they've got good skilled players, and they picked up a couple new guys in the out of season. They've got good skilled players, good receiver group, a couple good backs. The guys up front are doing a good job, and arguably the tallest quarterback we've played probably since I've been here, and he's doing a good job defensively. They're putting their scheme together. They're an active group, athletic group, and play with good effort. And then on special teams, again, they play with good effort, and they've got very good specialists. They're using two punters right now. I say using two. They just used one of them for one punt last week. And the field goal kicker is a veteran guy who's, I think, got 3 game winners, and one was 56 yards, I believe. So, that's an area where they're good as well. So, and we're doing our best to get ready for them right now, trying to learn off the 3 games that they've played. They're 2-1, and taking what we can from those films. Last couple things I'll throw it out for questions. Just an announcement: Jamari Harris will not be playing this year. He's had a medical procedure done this week, so he's going to miss the rest of the season. It's unfortunate. Jamari's a tremendous young man. I thought really showed a lot of growth last year and did a really nice job, and has been a really good team leader for us. Just an exceptional young guy. So it's disappointing. It's disappointing anytime a player has to miss time because of medical reasons, and we'll look forward to getting him back when he's back up on his feet and going here. And then congratulations to Lucas Van Ness as well for special teams, Big Ten Player of the Week. That's quite a feat. What he accomplished the other day, and his effort just overall has been really good, so appreciate that. And then last thing, we'll have Eve Jimenez will be with us as our kid captain this week. She's from Davenport, 8-year-old girl, and I certainly don't pretend to understand her challenges medically. I know they were pretty significant up until about 4 years ago, and the people at the hospital and the family have just worked together, and she's doing really well. So it'd be great to have her with us on Saturday. We'll look forward to meeting her and seeing her in Kinnick again. I'll throw it out for questions.
Kirk, when you look at quarterback, after you analyzed it, where do things stand? Is this remains an open competition, or is it an open competition, or is it Spencer Petras who's going to start on Saturday?
He'll start right now. That's our plan. Unless something happens in practice, and we obviously spent a lot of time looking at it, considering it, talking about it, and it's not the same as last year, but there are some similarities, I think, in that. I think it's really tough to give an honest evaluation right now, and I've talked to Alex about the same thing. Just that, I think no matter who's in there right now, we get some challenges, and we've got to work through those, try to improve on those, and then we'll have a fairer way to assess, I think. And but I still I speak for everybody in our program. We all have faith in both players.
Did Spencer do anything that you think continues to earn him the right to start? Or is it just right now that there's so many challenges that he can direct traffic a little bit better?
No, I think Alex is capable of that, and I think he proved that last year. I just go back to body of work, and this kind of ties into some other topics, I'm sure. But we were 0-2 at the start of the 20 season, then we won 12 straight with him at quarterback. So. He built up some credit right there, and I thought he played really well. Not in each and every game, but he did a pretty good job and led our football team. So he's got a good resume going, and I think the other challenge right now, we've had some challenges to work through, and that's where we're at presently. So that's a challenge right now, is to piece things together where whoever's back there can have a better chance to perform in a way that we think and believe both of them are capable of. So that's our bigger challenge right now. I think at this point, I don't think it's, in my assessment or our assessment, it's really fair to just pinpoint one person right now. I think that'd be taking an easy route out.
Taking away the Northwestern game, which obviously Spencer couldn't go in. I mean, your point totals in his last 6 starts are 7, 7, 3, 17, 7, and 7. How does that body of work?
Well, give it to me again. Taking away which?
Northwestern, which you didn't.
Right.
He played like a couple series, but 7, 7, 3, 17, 7, 7. Those are your point totals.
What was the bowl game score?
It's 2017. So 17. That was the 17. That had 3 picks. So I'm just saying, what you say the body of work is there, but that's the body of work. 1 TD, 9 interceptions the last 10 games or whatever it is. And then there's Alex, 27 against Minnesota, 33 against Illinois. How does that?
That's our assessment. Yeah, that's our assessment, and those are good points. But we're looking at the whole thing, and that's our assessment right now.
You bring up the whole thing a lot. What is Spencer doing that we're not seeing right now that keeps him in that best position?
I mean, that's like our whole football team. Probably the biggest difference between you guys and me right now, or us as a staff, is we get to see the guys day in and day out, starting in January, and it's true each and every year. So, we're a little bit more knowledgeable of our injury situation, got missed time, all those kinds of things. And going back, there's a lot of factors at play right now. A lot of factors at play. I think we beat that horse to death a little bit on Saturday. But, whether it's the receiver position, lack of time, and I felt like we were in a pretty good position going back to Kids Day. I think we were on a good progress path at that point. And then, some things happened the next couple of weeks that have made it a little bit difficult. So, long story short, I think we saw some improvement Saturday. There were some things that were more encouraging and some things where we're really close, but close doesn't get it. And that's a challenge that we're running. And, when we feel with this team that we have a chance to really assess things fairly, then we'll make the judgments that we feel necessary. And hopefully that's coming soon. Hopefully it is.
Kirk, is it reasonable to assume that Spencer is practicing the best of all the quarterbacks? I mean, you're out there every day.
Yeah, we think he is, but again, that's not a knock on Alex. Alex is doing a good job too. Yep.
How have you seen Keegan and Nico?
We're not trying to drive this train off the road by any stretch. I mean, it's not an intentional derailment. Yeah.
How have you seen Keegan and Nico progress?
Well, they're practicing. That's a starting point, right? So that's column number 1 right there. It's the first step to getting in a game. And playing well is practice, and you can't do it without practice. And, so having them actually in a helmet and catching the ball with shoulder pads on, that's encouraging. They've missed time, obviously. Nico's a more experienced player, and he's, been in the fight, a lot sooner than Keegan. Keegan, you're looking at about an eight-plus month deficit right now, so that's what he's got to overcome. It's great to see him out there, and it's great to get Nico back too. And I think we just have to be careful about how fast and how far we push him as we move forward.
I didn't see him on the depth chart. Does that mean probably not for this week then?
Oh, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's a chance. And again, Nico, I think, is probably further along just because he's, he was practicing not that long ago. Like I can remember when he was practicing. Recent memory.
Conversation with Alex about, because you said you were going to make a decision. So what is that?
I'm sorry?
I know you don't want to share like intimate details, but what do you tell a guy that's waited his turn?
You just want to let him know basically what the basis is for your thinking. And I'm not asking anybody to agree with me. And I'm guessing fans aren't agreeing, and maybe the media. But that, everybody's entitled to opinions. I'm all for that. But, what our jobs are, and my job, ultimately, I'm the head coach, is to decide what's best for our football team and our program, and that's my assessment at this point. We're a 1-1 team right now, and haven't moved the ball offensively, so, everything's it's a jump ball in all regards right now.
Is the QB, is it unanimous among coaches, or is it just your call?
Well, that's something I wouldn't share, but I think we're together as a program, and it doesn't mean everybody has to agree 100%, but I think we're together, yeah.
Where's your offensive line right now in terms of development, and how far has it got to go? Is it measuring up to your standards, et cetera?
Well, clearly not the first two games, but that's what I was alluding to a little bit. I felt like we were in pretty good position on Kids Day, which is like an eternity ago. But, we had some guys miss some significant time after that. I believe it was Monday, Tuesday, that next week. And to think that hasn't affected us, that'd be naive. That's one thing I know a little something about is the play up front. And I'm thinking of one player in particular who's, not playing where he was a couple weeks ago, and he was playing really well a couple of weeks ago, and then earned the right to be a good, confident player. But when you miss time, it's significant. That's why you do practice. That's the importance and value of practice, and especially up front. So, but they'll get there. I'm confident we'll get there.
Yeah, the personnel groupings obviously have been altered because of all the injuries, but it also looks like, from my novice eyes, a lot of the audible calls or checks or something like that just aren't in full measure just because of that as well. Is that true, and how debilitating or difficult is that for the offense to get through when you can't look at something and identify change because of so many moving pieces right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're a little different team than we were, during that August public exposure, personnel-wise, so that alters some things you do. Then your opponents alter things too. Some things they may present or don't present. So it's all part of a package. And we're clearly not operating where we want to operate right now, and that's that's evident by the point total. And that's ultimately something we're trying to do is get the point level where we want, where we can win games, on a consistent basis.
Looking at Jamari Harris being out for the year, Terry has played well in that spot these last two games. How would you assess his performance? And I'm guessing he's in a position to kind of take that spot and run with it.
First of all, it's a little bit of a microcosm for our team. It's hard to, if you had Terry playing well, Riley, Cooper, and Jamari, that gives you a pretty good two deep. But it's never that easy, and that's just the way it works. And that's true in a lot of positions, So if you got your number one guys in there that you want, that's a heck of a good start. But to your point, Terry's really done a good job, and he went through a really tough period. Obviously, getting hurt last fall. It's been a tough out of season for him, challenging medically, and but I think what he did starting with game one, he really made his presence felt. First of all, in special teams, which we missed that because he's a very dynamic special teams player. And then on top of it, he's really played corner well, and played it with some emphasis out there, some enthusiasm, and that allows us to use Cooper inside. So it's really critical. But we're thin into that position too. If you start thinking about ramifications of anybody coming out, but that's the world we live in. A lot of teams do.
Speaking of how thin you are there, how helpful is it to have Cooper where you can put him, it seems like, at 4 different spots?
Oh, it's helpful. Anytime you have guys that are versatile, that's a good thing. And, so he's it's just happened. Like, he just is very adept at, he's a flexible player that way mentally, and got a skill set that allows him to do that, so it really helps us. And, you know, you lose a guy like Belton, it's a big loss, but at least he's helped fill that void for us. But then, you know, it comes back to Terry being able to play, which last year he couldn't do that at the end of last year.
Coach, what's your assessment of your defense through 2 weeks?
I think they've done a lot of really good things out there, and that's, you know, pretty obvious. I'm stating the obvious. I mean, we have some strengths on this team right now, and that's to me one of the things I'm really encouraged about. They've done a lot of really amazing things out there, some really good play, and I'd say the same thing about our special teams. They've impacted the game in a really powerful way, and that's allowed both these games to be the way they've been. And, you know, I mean, as tough as Saturday was, you know, you change one play, the outcome of one play, but, you know, ifs and buts, right? We all know that one. So, but the point moving forward is that we've got to improve, and we've got to get better in all areas, quite frankly. And there are things on defense, as first thing Phil said Sunday, there's still things we can do a lot better, and it's going to be the challenge, because our opponents are looking at anything that we might have been vulnerable to, and, you know, they're going to work on us there too.
How difficult is it as far as from the run game, just knowing that how vulnerable you are maybe in the passing attack, that they're more crowding the line of scrimmage, and then you're trying to get your young offensive line trying to make the right plays, and how challenging is that to get your running game going?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a challenge, and then, you know, we had two veteran backs, and really we've played with one. Gavin was a break-the-glass guy Saturday, played a little bit on third down, and that's good, and he appears to be, you know, ready to roll, which is good. So, that, you know, it makes it a challenge. So, I mean, collectively, we got to try to push this thing forward. And I said there's some evidence the other day of some things that, you know, looked a little bit better, but we've just got to keep pushing as much as we can. That's why practice and meetings are so important right now.
Has Brody been able to catch up? We've talked before about how he kind of had to start from behind. And is Jacob Bostick somebody who could potentially see action?
Jake's big surprise to come as a surprise. He's been out with an injury too. So, you know, it just tends to be one room, year to year, camp to camp, whatever. Yeah, but Brody's kind of facing the same challenges as Keegan, in that, you know, Brody hasn't played a lot of football. Last December, I guess, he was with us, and that's been it since he's been a Hawkeye. He wasn't here last summer. Was hurt in camp, hurt during the season. So, I mean, he's playing catch up as well. But he's a great guy, and he's got a great attitude. He's working hard, and hopefully we'll, you know, get him involved here moving forward.
What challenges does a 6'9" quarterback present?
You know, just getting used to looking at him is, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just very unusual. I can't. I'm sure somebody else's, and Reese Morgan described him beautifully. He looks like Anthony Nelson coming out of high school. He's probably a little taller, but he looks like the way Anthony did when he walked in here as a freshman. It's strange to see a quarterback of that height. The guy plays well, though. He really plays well, and that was kind of the talk of December back when he started in their bowl game. That was kind of the talk of that. I got a 6'9" quarterback, so that's the first time I heard about it.
How often have you had guys that are better game players than they are in practice? And when that is the case, how hard is that?
Not often. Yeah, not often. I mean, just, you know, I mentioned Hartley came up name last year, and that's a great example, but it doesn't happen a lot. It really doesn't happen a lot. Typically good players are really good practice players. That's been one commonality. Everywhere I've coached, high school, college, NFL, they usually know how to practice.
I probably don't watch a lot of NFL, but probably have an awareness that the quarterback positions change quite a bit. Same in college. I mean, you look at Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, more of a mobile type of guy. And it seems
two guys that weren't recruited either, by the way.
Yeah.
How about
that? But I'm just. It seems like, I know you can't talk about the guys specifically, but your future quarterback commitments, 23, 24, are dual threat type guys. Is that an intentional philosophy change on your part moving forward at the quarterback position?
Not necessarily intentional. It's kind of the same line I've given you before, is that, like, we try to recruit the best guy, and then we'll, bend towards what they do well. And, Spencer and Stanley are probably more similar than, say, CJ or Brad Banks. Those guys are a little different, and it certainly doesn't hurt if you got a mobile guy. Like, there's no downside to that if the guy can also be a thrower and good quarterback. But that's a fascinating study, just quarterbacks, because I did see that panel. It was those two guys, Brady, Rogers sitting on the panel right somewhere this summer. Had time to actually watch a little TV. And they were sitting who knows where, but there was a panel discussion. It was interesting. I'm just sitting there watching, like, none of these, well, Brady was recruited, obviously. Went to a blue blood school, but then, nobody wanted him in the draft. And then Rogers, had a whatever 1,500 SAT and had to go to junior college because nobody wanted him either. And, then the coach at Cal took him, and obviously that worked out pretty well for those guys. So it's just kind of an interesting study. Quarterbacks are really interesting, but, you try to get the guy that you think's best, and then you're going to try to play towards his strengths.
And when I talked to Labus on Media Day, he was saying he considered himself a dual threat guy as well. Do you see that for him?
I think it's fair. Yeah, he's a pretty good athlete. Yeah, he's pretty mobile and runs around pretty well.
You look at quarterbacks, obviously different in recruiting because only a couple of times have I remembered you taking 2 in one class, and then usually you skip the next year, or most of the time you do. How do you really center on one person? I mean, it's been canned for the last handful of years, but how have you centered on one person? I mean, how many people are involved, and then what happens if you have a Will Levis situation where you feel really good, and then all of a sudden, Justin Fields decommits, and then boom, there he is.
And I mean, first of all, we live in that world. We're really there's a bunch of guys like that we've. It was in that same year, the year before that. I can't remember which. It was the year. It was Petrus, Wilson, and a guy down in Texas. The guy in Texas is the first guy that we really focused on. And a week later, he was off to Ohio State. They offered and see. So I mean, we're used to that. Sometimes we're the first to ask, but that just depends how it plays out. But again, I think it starts with, and I'll go back to Brad Banks. You start with people that are interested in you. You identify guys, and I've said it on record that my goal is to get a high school quarterback that year. The guy we liked the best didn't like us, so now you go number 2, and it was Brad. And fortunately, that worked out. So it was kind of fate and dumb luck, but. You just kind of rank them as they are, and then you start working down the ladder. But, typically we'll take 1 a year. It's kind of like basketball, I guess, or at least they used to call them point guards. I usually 2 point guards one time with the same school. I'm going back like 40 years. But, it's kind of a similar situation.
Is that a more involved process with the staff, or is it just the same as you would recruit a tackle or defensive back or something?
Well, we lean in each position. We lean towards the position coach making the final evaluation, or at least having the primary voice. And then there's a group consensus as well. But it's still the position coach has primary voice on that.
Kirk, when the passing game's just not going well, it's easy for receivers to be very frustrated and almost not be engaged by play to play. I mean, how are you keeping, like Arlen Bruce and maybe some other receivers in the room engaged? I mean, they didn't have a pass catch till I think the midway through the third quarter last week.
Yeah, I mean, the ball goes where it goes, and a lot of times the defense dictates that. So, good players understand that, and you just keep working. Arlen's a great example of that. Nobody's got better attitude and works any harder, and he's been working overtime, quite frankly, the last couple of weeks. So we're worried about that, or at least cognizant of it. But that's what you come to school for too, is to playing games and play a lot of games, or a lot of plays. But I mean, it is what it is, and you work through it.
How do you get the ball more to Arlen when I think it was 11 targets, 1 ball got to him on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying. And there's not he's our best option in a lot of regards, and the defensive guys know that as well. So that's a challenge right now.
If there is disappointment and frustration amongst the players, how do you use that disappointment from last Saturday as motivation while also balancing it with not dwelling on last Saturday, which I know you and your players tend to do. They don't want as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the world we all live in as players and coaches. We can't, we really can't continue the discussion much past Sunday. It's just the way it is. If you do, you're really hurting yourself for your next option or next opportunity. So there's a mental discipline to that, and it doesn't mean you don't feel it doesn't linger or live with you. And losing tends to stick with you longer than winning. At least it should, but it's the nature, because if you're competitive, you don't like to lose. It's just everybody works too hard, but. As my wife reminds me, 50% of the teams lose every week, and I get mad every time she says that. She didn't say it last weekend, so we're still talking. But you got to learn to move on. You learn to move on, and what's behind you is behind you. You got to focus on what opportunities you have, and the biggest thing is the opportunity to grow and try to get better. And in this case, learn from what we didn't do well, and then move on. But that's every game, win or lose. You better learn from what you didn't do well and how do you improve.
Time frame for Justin Jacobs to come back?
Based on today and last night's medical meeting, talking to him today, it's not going to be this week. That's about all I know. But he's improving. He's improving. I don't know how close. Those are soft tissue issues, or I wish I had the answer.
And then kicker, is that an ongoing competition? Or how do you evaluate that position right now?
Yeah, and that's a little different than the quarterback position because neither guy really has a resume right now, but. They're both quality, and they both have practiced well this segment. Wasn't as good in the spring, but they've been, since we got going in August, both are doing a good job, and we'll just keep playing it by ear.
Coach, some of the players said you have a 24-hour rule in terms of watching film, and we watch it for a day and then you throw it out. Was that your idea, and if so, why did you implement it?
Yeah, first of all, I don't think I've ever had an original thought. So anything that comes out of my mouth is copied from somebody somewhere. I don't know who it was, but first time I heard it, that really made sense. Like that made sense. It had a good visual and good connotation to it. Again, it's a little trickier to live by it sometimes. If there is one positive, we went to the new schedule in 15 where we actually practice Monday morning. So one benefit of that, it's really hard on the staff Sunday, but one benefit of that is you're forced to move on, win, lose, or draw on Monday, because you're moving, you're out practicing, doing things. So at least that was not, I don't think any of us saw that as an intended consequence. It just happened. But that's what life and sports teach you. You better move on to the next challenge, or you're gonna be at a deficit before you even get started.
One of the unique coincidences, I guess, but it's been a positive for your program for a long time, is a walk-on safety from Iowa stepping in and playing really well. Jack Kerner, Jake Gervais, going all the way back to Brett Greenwood, and even Brandon Snyder. Quinn Schultes fits that bill again. What did you see in him as a quarterback at Xavier, and how has he fit that role, for you in the last couple games?
And Considine's one of the 5 guys that has 2 block kicks. I think I read that right, which that's a long time ago. But another he's not from Iowa, but walk on. The one commonality, those guys were just good football players in their high school programs. Q was a quarterback. Sean was a running back who I thought might go to Northern Illinois. They didn't offer him. That's what triggered his attendance here. But the commonality is they're good football players. They're conscientious, really thorough, and just do quality work. And that's kind of been the commonality with those guys. So all have a little different personalities. Jack had a different personality than Quinn, but both of them are really. Quinn's off to a good start. It's been really a pleasant surprise to watch him perform back there. Not shocking, but it's been pleasant to see him do a good job.
And the kind of depth behind him, stars and what have you. What has he been able to show? To maintain that position, and then of course go out and play as well as he has?
It's just a steadiness in performance, in practice, and we don't have much game. Special teams, obviously, but just a steadiness and a thoroughness, the way he prepares and the way he practices each and every day. And that's what. And then you get into game competition. You try to assess what a guy does, and at least he's really off to a good start for being a 2-game starter.
Gavin said he feels like he's back to 100%. Just how much do you think that's going to help you guys on Saturday?
Obviously, it's huge. I mean, any especially skilled player right now that joins the fray that's a benefit for us. And, LaShawn's really not a guy we use a lot in pass stuff, whereas Gavin has that capability. So that would have been one more alternate plan. Had he been out with us the last couple of weeks, we would have used him a little bit as a receiver because he does that pretty adeptly. But, we didn't have that option available. So it was one more thing to take off the board in terms of consideration. And Gavin's got he's been really interesting. He's got a really, I don't know if interesting personality is the right way, but he's just, he's kind of pretty steady right down the middle all the time. But he earned my confidence with that 4th and 2 conversion a year ago, and he's done nothing but perform well since then. He's a really good mentor and a leader for being, he's not that old of a guy, but he's a really, good steadying influence in a really young room. So appreciate that as well.
with the strengths on defense and with punting, how much of an improvement do you think is necessary from this offense to be competitive?
The first and most important thing we can do is eliminate turnovers. I mean, of all the things that have happened in 2 weeks, we're five turnovers right now. And to think that we're going to win the way we want to win the next 10 weeks, going 5 every 2 games, that's unrealistic, and that's one thing historically we've been pretty good at. I think there's one year where we defied that number. I'm pretty sure it was 2009. Other than that, like, our good teams protect the football, so that's first and foremost. And that's not one person. That's a lot of people involved there. So that's the first step we have to take. And then secondly, we got to move the ball and score points. That's what offenses do. We've never been built or wired to aim for 50 points a game. Love it if it happens, but that's not the way we play, and that's not the design of the way we play. But just first of all, clean up our play there, protect the ball, and then get the points we're capable of getting, and hopefully that'll improve as we go along.
Thank you.